once again. This is the Beyond Belief Sobriety Friday live stream. I am John, and I am joined as always by my co-host Angela B. from Boise, Idaho. How you doing, Angela?
I am doing well, thank you.
And how has your week been?
It's been. Let me think for a minute. I hadn't actually thought about it. Yeah, it's been a pretty good week.
It's been interesting here. I think our group is going to start meeting up again in person.
Wow.
May 1st we're going to start meeting again. So
Wow.
the Free Thinkers group has already started meeting at the community center here, and then we're going to start meeting at the church. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah. As far as I know, the meeting place that we had here in Boise is still not planning to open until the fall. So
Yeah.
I think we'll still be online. But
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I went for a walk today with somebody newer in recovery. I mean, I guess it's been a year now, but I say newer because I've never attended a meeting with them or anything.
Yeah.
and it was my first time meeting them in person, but we'd been meeting via Zoom almost every week for the last year now, and so that was kind of interesting. And it's funny because she's been attending regular meetings as well, and she was in a long-term treatment program, like an outpatient recovery thing, and so they've been having meetings. So, it's old hat for her. But for me, it's still a little bit weird to be out and about without, my mask the entire time, things like that. And so, so I'm easing into it.
Yeah, me too. It is different. So tomorrow, everyone in my wife's family has been vaccinated. My wife's been vaccinated. I've been vaccinated. So tomorrow we're going over to her mother's house for a big party.
Oh, wow.
All these people who've been vaccinated. So I was just thinking, this is the first time since in a year that I've been around a large group of people.
Right.
And it's going to be nice, and also I haven't seen these people, for a long time. Jack, no, this is not a private conversation. I'm sorry. I have ignored
We're just chatting.
the room. Hello to all of you out there. Jack, it's good to see you. Jackie, it's good to see you, and Dale and Tyler and Joe and Anchor and Angela B out there, and anyone else that's out there. I love having you guys participate in these live streams. We couldn't do this without you. In fact, we were just talking about it. We're hoping that tonight will go well with this topic. Angela had an idea that that she wanted to talk about fake it till you make it, and was thinking about some things, and then she started second guessing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
So I guess I'll introduce it. I was thinking of this idea. I listen to a lot of podcasts and read a lot, and in one of them, a couple of weeks ago, I think it was Huberman Lab, but I'm not positive. They were talking about neuroplasticity and how physicality, like doing something physical, can help in restructuring neural pathways in your brain, and that sometimes by doing these things, even if you're not cognitively buying into whatever it is you're doing, you can change the way that you think about whatever it is. And so it reminded me in AA of the saying, fake it till you make it. And one of my first thoughts whenever I hear that is usually I think of it in context of like the higher power issue, that I feel like I was told that, or when other people bring it up, that it's kind of like or act as if is another one that's said around here, which is, I feel, the same thing as fake it till you make it, but act as if you believe in a higher power, or but actually, oftentimes it was, things like, if you don't want to go to meetings, act as if you do, or, just go to meetings until you want to go to a meeting. And that, when I think back on it now, it does seem that doing some of those things helped me in my early sobriety. So not the pretending that I believed in a
Right.
higher power. Of course, that one wasn't helpful to me. But the going to meetings, even if I didn't want to, this is just go, act as if I want to be there. Act as if I want to be helpful. Kind of like when you back in the day when you would volunteer to wash the coffee cups and the ashtrays and things like that. I did not want to clean ashtrays, I assure you. But I acted as if I wanted to do that, because that's some of the stuff I was told was going to help me stay sober, and I've stayed sober. So I wouldn't attribute my entire sobriety to washing ashtrays,
Right.
but I think that there's something more in there. And so I thought it'd be something interesting for people to discuss, either their experiences with that, or thoughts about it. But it was interesting when you posted it, the different reactions people had to it.
Yeah, most people were thinking along the lines that you were, that it's like thinking yourself into right action. There were some people that posted that they thought, no, I need to be authentic. I can't just fake it. But for the majority of the people, they were thinking that, yeah, it makes sense. You take the action, and then until it becomes habit, I guess. When I used to hear it early on, for me, it kind of was telling me that, don't sweat it. Don't worry about it. Just get yourself to meetings and go easy on yourself. That things will be okay. That I didn't have to worry about doing things just right or whatever. It's kind of how I thought about it. However, it was used on me also about the whole thing about the higher power, that just pray. Just don't worry about it. Just pray and fake it. Pray. But for the most part, I was like, it was just a nice way to just remind myself that, what, just show up and go to meetings and see how things turn out. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing it was helpful for me was the calling a sponsor every day. That I did that with a temporary sponsor at first, and I did not want to call this person every day. It wasn't, but I agreed to it, and so I did that, and so by the time I got a sponsor, I was already in the habit of doing that. So I continued that for quite a long time, I think. And it made it so that, it was easier to talk to her about the stuff that really was bothering me, because I had gotten in the habit of calling her every day. So when I needed to call her about something that was really stressful for me, it wasn't like I don't want to bother her, or, anything like that. It was like, this is what I do.
Right.
I call her. Same thing with meetings that, in the first few years, I attended tons of meetings, multiple meetings a day and stuff. And so that, made it easier for me to, when I was having problems, go to a meeting, because that's what I do. I go to meetings. And so I think that really helped in my early recovery. It was a habit that I created. It was kind of like a reflex that this is what I do. I go to meetings, and even in later recovery, I think about the 10-year mark, I definitely recall getting tired sometimes and not wanting to go to a meeting, and I was only really going to like my Tuesday night meeting, but the time and the day would come around, and I'd be like, oh no, I want to watch a show, or I want to just, veg, or whatever it was. And it wasn't usually about the meeting. Like, I don't want to see those people. It's just, I didn't feel like going, but that's what I did. I go to the Tuesday meeting every week at 7 p.m. That's what I do. And I didn't regret, any time that I went to it. It was always, an experience for me where I felt better afterwards, whether I talked or not, just the act of doing it. But, it's, I guess, similar with exercise to me. I generally do not feel like going and doing that. I'm not one of those people that's like, woohoo, I got to get out for a run. Yes. I'm just not like that. Not even with bicycling. So we have to have that every week. But yeah, it's not something that the first thing that I want to do, but it's something that I'm starting to realize or recognize now that it's a kindness to my future self.
Right.
That when I do these things, that's what I'm doing. Is I'm being kind to my future self. So in a decade, I'll be able to move more easily, or whatever. And yeah, so that's one of the things that it made me think of was stuff like that. The other thing was, gratitude lists. That was
Oh.
another one. Yeah, I did not want to write gratitude lists. I did not see how that would be helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so most of my early lists were very, snarky and stuff. But it helps.
Yeah,
and
it
so
does.
the more that you do it, the repetition and the consistency, then I start to find more things throughout the day that I realize I'm grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have generally better days when I'm doing stuff like that. So I really see now how some of those things that sometimes can seem annoying in recovery, how they're helpful.
Yeah, they can help you establish a good habit, like calling a sponsor and getting used to it. Like I was the same way. I had a sponsor early on and told me to call him every day, and I didn't want to do that. I don't chat on the phone or whatever. But it kind of broke me out of that reluctance to call somebody, right? So that when I did need to call him, I could do it. You know. Anchor has an interesting comment here. Says that I think it works well with resentment towards certain people. I have had to think about how someone without a resentment would act and then act that way. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think that might be also like in praying for people you don't like. I
Oh,
heard
yeah.
that a lot in the rooms.
Yeah. Or just thinking well
And
of someone you don't like. You don't have
right,
to actually
yeah.
pray. Yeah.
Yeah, well, in the rooms, most of the
They
time they
do
said
say that.
pray,
They do say that.
but
Absolutely.
it reminded me of in Buddhism, the loving kindness meditations, or specifically Jack Cornfield's
Mm-hmm.
forgiveness meditation, because in one of those, part of it says something to the effect of, "To the extent that I'm able, I forgive you." And so you're thinking about whoever this is that you're upset with, and then saying that, "To the extent I'm able, I forgive you." And that when I've done that with certain situations, it does seem to relieve the intensity of my negative feelings. It doesn't,
Yeah.
I don't know that with any of them I've fully been like, "Okay, we're good," or anything like that. But the intensity of my negative feelings seems to dissipate. I still have problems with like principles and institutions. Those ones are
Mm-hmm.
still tough for me.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that the idea behind it. So one of the other things that came up for me with this is I heard a long time ago on a Radiolab podcast, they were talking about the placebo effect,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of how that works. And I heard another thing recently on it as well, and that at least on this Radiolab podcast, they were reporting on a study where people were actually told that they were on the placebo, but they were told something along the lines of that, we're going to be giving you the placebo, but the placebo has been shown to be effective in relieving pain, or having healing results, or something like that, healing effects. And that those people still, even though they were taking a placebo and knew they were taking a placebo, seemed to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And a few years ago, I had sinus surgery. And I had been having so many sinus infections and just this, serious pain, in a specific spot. And so the doctor said, yeah, you have a deviated septum, we'll do the surgery and then you'll feel better. And after the surgery, I still had that pain in the same spot. And so I kept going back to him going, it's still there, nothing's changed. And he didn't know what to do because, the part that he thought was associated with it, I guess he had removed. And so I said,
Um,
well, can you just, do something, placebo, just tell me, that whatever is going to help, or, some sort of exercise or something. And he got all freaked out because, there's, a whole ethics thing. And so I tried to explain to him, why I thought that might work, because, I listened to Radiolab, duh.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, it didn't go over very well. And but I think that it probably would have worked for me if he would have said it that way. That I'm starting to understand the power of the mind and the ability that we have to change things. Kind of like who was it? I think Henry Ford, the whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of research coming out now showing that that's actually accurate. And if you listen to the Huberman podcast, he cites the different research that's out there that will show that that
Cool.
seems to be a thing. So
Yeah, Joe says that acting as if is utilized in self-help, sales training, behavior modification, and it has a place in early sobriety. He says the problem is when it is an automatic response that shuts down the other. When it's an automatic response that shuts down the other. So that's kind of interesting. And Joe says that he did get the higher power part. He said that he was confused about why he couldn't get the higher power part. And yes, folks said fake it till he makes it. And he thought that he would evolve into it. I think they were being compassionate. It never happened. Yeah, I think you're right, Joe. I think they were I think they were well-meaning people that were just trying to be compassionate, and they wanted you to have the same belief that they have and get the same comfort out of it. But it's like it wasn't gonna happen. But he also says that prisoners are told to act like they're going to be a good citizen when they get out of prison. Interesting.
Yeah. And I see John Stewart's there saying he's
Oh,
still
wow.
faking it.
Hey, John.
20 years in. Very cool.
Yeah. There.
Yeah, there was something I was listening to on confidence that, basically went along the same idea that people who are confident, whether they're actually skilled or have an ability in whatever they're confident in, oftentimes succeed or achieve higher than people who don't have, the confidence for it. So I thought that was interesting. I guess it's kind of like that Leonardo DiCaprio movie, the Catch Me If You Can, where the guy was a con artist and didn't know how to fly a plane, but actually did a lot. Yeah.
Dean has a funny comment here. A friend once told me he prayed for someone he didn't like, as in, God, please let so-and-so be hit by a bus tomorrow, but don't kill him. That's really nice.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Steve has a comment about William James. William James suggested in his master work, The Principles of Psychology, that in order to experience the truth/reality of a belief, you have to practice it first. So the behavioral principle you and other suggest has its origins in his work. Wasn't that interesting? James wrote a book called The Willingness to Believe based on this principle, offering a rational argument for the fake it till you make it suggestion. I never knew that. That's kind of interesting.
Nice.
It goes back a ways to the beginning there of the people who I guess inspired those who wrote the big book and so forth.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're also starting to understand now some, mechanisms regarding neurochemistry and mindset, and like the whole, dopamine system, and talking about ways that you can actually kind of schedule, your dopamine hits, and that if you start to understand that system, then you'll be able to have a little bit better control over it rather than get it hijacked by social media or the world or whatever. And I found that really interesting. I don't quite understand it yet, how it all works. I have a little bit of an understanding of dopamine and serotonin and that balance, but it's pretty complex. But I thought it was interesting that some of these ideas I'm starting to hear the scientific terms or mechanisms for, why they work. And that's kind of cool. Instead of, I think I would have been more resistant, or actually, I know I was resistant to a lot of things earlier in recovery because, they sounded too mystical or woo-wooey, that kind of thing. But now, I'm more open to different ideas and to examining and sometimes trying out new things to see if it's helpful, because, if it's not, I don't have to continue trying it.
Yeah. Last night I was talking to somebody. I actually did 2 podcast recordings last night back to back. And one of them was a guy from Smart Recovery. And he said just what you were talking about the managing your dopamine releases or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it wasn't like we got a caller coming in, but he said it wasn't like intentional, but he says that, you start doing things that are good for you and you start feeling good about it. Like you get excited about going to a meeting, you get that little dopamine spike, or maybe you're excited about doing a podcast. You start developing habits or doing things in your recovery that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise that make you feel good. Anyway, we got a caller from area code 905. Let's see who this might be. Hi, and thank you for calling.
Good evening, John and Angela. This is Bob K. from east of Toronto.
Oh, my goodness. Hi, Bob K. How are you doing?
Hey, Bob.
I'm good. Hi, Angela. It might surprise you, but back in my drinking days, I faked it sexually a couple of times so I could go back to drinking.
Okay.
And so I want to talk a little bit. My late father, I've been thinking about him a lot lately because 5 days from now is his 60th sobriety anniversary. So I'm presuming there's been no drinking the 15 years since he passed on. But so he used to start sentences with 40 years ago this and 50 years ago that. And when you're younger, that can really creep you out. So
right.
I'm gonna try not to do this, but so when I arrived in AA 30 years ago and heard "fake it till you make it," it reminded me of something, some stuff I studied at University of Toronto 20 years before that. So see how I dodged the 50 years thing there, Angela? So there was something called the theory of cognitive dissonance. And the postulate is that a person will not continue to do 2 things that are directly opposed philosophically. So if I come into AA as an atheist, if they can trick me into praying for whatever reason, there's a chance I might dump the atheism and keep the prayer. I'm very unlikely to keep both positions. So if they can keep me praying long enough, there can be a change of mind. And I've seen that sort of thing happen to people, not to me because I'm a little more stubborn than that. But there's another example of that. We had a woman come into our East Toronto group. We used to call her Tall Jane. And she came for a year and she came drunk. And a group of old timer, real nice guy. He had a little meeting of some of us that were, pretty active in the group. And he said he had never seen it. Like people come for a couple of months drinking or a couple of weeks, and they either stop drinking or they stop coming. But this girl was comfortable coming drunk, and, she would hand out papers with jokes on them and just come drunk week after week after week. And that is contrary to what the theory of cognitive dissonance predicts, because it predicts people don't like to do inconsistent things. And it's inconsistent to come to AA meetings and continue to drink. So anyway, that was kind of interesting to me. There's the relationship of it. There's a kind of explanation of how it might work in some circumstances. And I think it would work in those other circumstances too. If I call my sponsor every day, which I didn't do, but I will eventually come to like that, or I will stop doing it. I won't be 9 years in saying I call this guy every day and I hate it. Yeah,
Right.
it's just too inconsistent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, that's my 2 cents worth, and I'm busy multitasking. I've got charged with writing. It looks like Roger is going to stop posting new material on the AA Agnostica website in June, and I think this time he's going to follow through on it. And it's kind of a sad thing. And he will write the last blog, of course. And anyway, I've been charged with writing the second last one, and I'm pretty enthusiastic about that, and I'm honored to do it. And I've got getting some good stuff down on paper. That doesn't always happen. So
yeah, it's amazing that he's going to be retiring
anyway,
in June. They'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, so we're going to kind of put out a plea for somebody to step up and operate a website where they're inviting the written material. We have that gap now, and it's time, I think, for somebody fresh to come out and do that. Somebody a lot more techie than I am, and probably a lot younger. But I think it's hard for those of us on the outside to appreciate exactly how much work goes into running a website like that with the weekly deadlines and sometimes the twice week postings and editing essays and just on and on and on.
Yeah, it is a lot of work.
I get it a little bit from so I haven't done it, but I've kind of been close to the people doing it, so I got a bit of a vibe what goes on. And I wouldn't want to do it. It's really tough for somebody who has a real full-time job.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody who's retired with a lot of enthusiasm would be a better pick.
Yeah. Well, Bob, thank you so much for calling. Appreciate it.
Good podcast tonight. Very interesting topic. I can't recall hearing this talked about much lately. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks,
Appreciate
Bob.
Bye, Angela.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
If you want to.
Yeah,
I'm not bossing you.
I was just kind of thinking technical stuff, but I remember the first time that we tried to do callers, and it seemed like it was like you could layer on a walkie-talkie or something. You could really, the sound quality was so bad, and now it's like for some reason we really got our act down because they're like that was like a crystal clear call. Wow, it's pretty cool.
As far as we know, I mean, we don't know what other people
we don't
hear,
know what other people are hearing, but it sounded pretty good. Yeah. So, that's kind of good to hear from Bob.
Yeah. Well, and thinking about what he said, I mean, it's possible. A lot of us come in and drinking isn't our only problem, particularly in regards to mental health. And so, it's very possible that if, she had a split in her personality, that one wanted to get sober and another one didn't. And so maybe that was the case. Who knows? It would be interesting to hear her story. Definitely. I'd love to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what else you got on this, Angela?
Oh, well, just that, I guess the idea, again, of the placebo effect of the faking it part, or just kind of belief, I don't know if it would be faith, but just, what we choose to believe, and how that works. And one of the podcasts I was listening to was talking about the triune brain theory, and I won't go into that because that's kind of boring, but that according to that theory, there's three sections of the brain, and that the mammalian brain, the emotion and feeling, that's what we make a lot of our decisions on, and it doesn't understand language, so you can't rationalize with it or speak to it because it doesn't understand that, and so we have to actually do things like, as if we were communicating with our pets, but we have to do that with ourselves in order to convince ourselves to do different things. And that's another part of what I thought with the faking it till you make it, the habitually doing stuff, or, acting as if, going for a walk when I don't feel like going for a walk and stuff, in order to teach that part of my body that's what I want to do, and when I've done stuff like that in the past, then I start noticing people going for walks, kind of like when the girls were first learning to drive, and they'd already been working, since they were 14 to save money to get their own car. And the older one, when she was 16, she decided, on her own that she wanted to get a Prius. And so we started looking for used Priuses. And every place we looked, it seemed like there were used Priuses. All of a sudden, I'd see them once in a while, but I didn't really care. But because I directed my attention, that part of my brain, the mammalian part, I guess, started to recognize, oh, this seems to be important to her, Priuses. And so I'm seeing Priuses everywhere. And so, I think that's part of what this whole concept is, although it's never been talked about in that way, I guess. But whatever, you start to put your attention on, and that part of your brain says, oh, this is different, and this must be important, so I'm going to pay attention to that. And I think that can, be a negative as well. If you're having recurring negative thoughts, then, you'll start to think only about the negative, right. Or attribute the negative to, say, a certain, political stance or people with that stance or whatever, and that thinking about these different things or trying something different can help us to get out of that or change that, it just we have more choices now in sobriety to direct our lives, and now the science is explaining why that is, and that's kind of cool.
Well, John Sleeper likes what you have to say. He said, this is really important. It's basic evolutionary psychology. I really think there should be more talk about it in AA meetings. And he says that neurons that fire together, wire together should be an AA setting. Neurons that fire together, wire together.
If I ever hear that in a meeting, John, then I will let you know. I'll be like, woohoo! We've arrived.
I like it.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of Googling on the subject, and I ran across
some Googling.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
wow.
Yeah, I'm so smart. But anyway, I found there was someone that talked about she believed that just posture helps. So I'll just read this. She says, strike a pose. It's often said that body language tells everything. If you are feeling defeated in your recovery and in other aspects of your life for that matter, your body is showing it. Slumped shoulders, head down, understated speech. And her famous 2012 TED Talk, Harvard Business School social psychologist Amy Cuddy shared her findings that adopting a powerful posture can affect your body chemistry. By adopting a power pose, which consists of your chest and head lifted high and your arms propped on your hips, it decreases the production of stress, hormone cortisol, and increases the production of testosterone, which is a hormone related to dominance and confidence. How about that?
Yeah. I saw that, and I'm familiar with her. She's the daughter of the what is it, Stephen Covey? The what is it? 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Yeah. So she comes along that line. But I actually watched that with the girls when they were younger, and one of them was preparing for a speech she had to make in class, and so we were practicing our power poses, and and so she started doing that, for work when she became an assistant manager and stuff, or a shift manager, I think, first, and so it seemed to be quite effective for her, and I think it helped me some when I would do community theater and stuff to, again, it was kind of an acting as if before I went on stage, like, I totally have this, even though inside I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to laugh at me. I'm going to look like a fool. Fortunately, there's a part of my brain that is really concerned with with not goofing up in front of people. And so that would take over as soon as I got on stage, and I didn't goof up. I was always right on it. Even if I didn't think I had my lines memorized, the day before we'd start a live show, it just, something snapped. And so I think that was part of it.
Well, I have a really hard time with the posture thing because, well, I've got scoliosis and it's never been corrected or anything. So I have to work really, really hard at sitting up straight and not being slumped over. But if I can do that for a period of time, I actually do feel better. My back actually will feel better, but it's really hard for me because my back is not naturally straight anyway. So it's hard for me to do that. But anyway, so
I was watching something on YouTube on behavior, and one of the people was saying that when we make most of our most important decisions, like signing for a mortgage, or I guess, proposing, marriage or whatever, we lean forward. And so, so by leaning in to do things or to have a conversation or something like that, that can be a postural change you can make to try to, be in the mind frame, if that's where you want to be, of making, a major decision. Yeah.
Jackie says that faking it to me is just not listening to the thoughts and feelings trying to seduce me. I like being nervous about teaching a class or calling into a podcast. I just push through and do it anyway. Yeah. I see a lot of that too. Like what we were talking about earlier about, just like calling your sponsor, to getting into the habit of calling somebody on a regular basis, things that I didn't like doing that after a while would become habit. I do believe, I'm actually reading a book and I've just started it.
You're reading a book?
I am. I actually joined a book club, so I'm going to be reading a book. I'm reading lots of books. But anyway, this one's called Atomic Habits. And I'm just kind of getting started in it. But the whole premise from the introduction of the book is that you make incremental changes, just tiny little changes, 1% changes for the better. And over time, you see a huge amount of improvement. And he started the book talking about how, he had this traumatic physical accident when he was a kid, and how he had to make little incremental improvements to finally get to where he could, see and walk and recover. And anyway, it's going to be kind of interesting. I haven't, like I said, I haven't quite started the book, but it's I kind of like the idea of developing habits, because I can develop habits all the time, not always good ones.
Right.
I can sometimes get a little bit obsessive about things. I mean, I've been that way about good, healthy things. But I do think that it's possible if you force yourself to do something, after a while it does become habit and it does feel good. I'll talk about bike riding, for example. You just get on the damn bike and ride. It feels good after a while. I'm thinking I might try to ride the bike to the meetings with it. Bree always rides her bike to the meetings. I might try to do that too. It's not that far from my house, and now that I don't have to drive to work, I could probably do that. So
yeah.
And there's that one hill too, Bree, that goes along the museum. That can be a pretty tough hill, so that'll be good for me. I need to do something.
Right. Yeah.
I'm excited about our group meeting again. It kind of gets you outside and seeing people. I'm excited about that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yeah. It is exciting. It's still a little. I'm nervous about it.
I know.
I did okay today, but I need to get my hair cut, and I keep postponing it or putting it off because it still, seems weird to me to have somebody in my space. So I think I'm going to have to make some small atomic steps. Is that what it is to get to that? But I really do need a haircut because this is getting ridiculous. But I think with that idea of making the small steps, I can't remember who it was that I was listening to. I think it's come on, Angie, think. what is his name? Something Hughes. And he was talking about Chase Hughes, I think, and had like an acronym for making, positive habit change or becoming more disciplined in life and stuff. And one of the parts of it was besides, focusing on something like creating a vision board or whatever, there has to be like an emotional attachment. So you have to, say you wanted to be able to save up enough to go on a vacation, you'd have to, have a little image of where you wanted to go and then actually visualize what it probably feels like there right now, the time of year, the wind blowing through your hair, whatever it is, but then agitation is the thing, the next part of it. And that agitation is basically, something has to be disturbed in your life. So that's, making a small change, so doing something just slightly different. So kind of like when you get annoyed with yourself because you're running late or you're constantly late or whatever, and you don't want to be late anymore because there's so many asshole drivers, when you're late for something, it's amazing.
Yeah,
they just come out of nowhere. Yeah. And so, trying to leave the house, 5 minutes earlier or, 10 minutes earlier. And now, I tend to leave the house 15 minutes earlier. And then I get to, where I want to be ahead of time and can, check out the area, if it's a coffee shop or like today at the park, kind of know what's going on around me. And I'm much more relaxed, not only in, the drive over to wherever I need to get, but also just when I meet up with people, I'm more relaxed because I've taken the time to develop a new habit by leaving the house in different increments until I found something that seems to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I just hadn't heard it as agitation before, and I thought that was an interesting way to think about it. But basically, it's just make a slight change so that your brain recognizes something's different, and then it starts looking for that.
We have a caller from area code 447. Let's see who this is. It's so exciting to have callers today.
Yay!
Hi, how you doing? Hello.
Hi, John. I just thought I'd phone in really because I was in bed and I just woke up. So it's really sort of early morning here. So I think.
Is this Steve?
I just thought it's one of the only chances I'll ever get. Yeah, it's Steve Kirk.
Oh my goodness
gracious!
Hi.
But,
oh, how amazing! We can. So now I know it works. You can actually call here from Europe on this phone. That's cool.
Yeah, I just had a bit of a Google to find out the dialing code. But yeah, no, just wanted it's been an intention of mine to phone in, but like I say, it's sort of 1 o'clock in the morning here when I'm live. So normally I wouldn't be up, you know what I mean? So, but I just woke up in the middle of the night, made myself a cup of tea, and looked at my phone, and there's a notice for your show. That's all. And then when you're talking about this topic, it's something I was writing about last year. I read a book about William James, which is by a sort of academic guy, an American guy, university professor. And it was brilliant. He sort of answered that, sort of give me insight into where a lot of the sayings that, familiar sayings that we say in AA, like fake it to make it and this willingness to believe, etc., and loads of other ones that, some of the cards and stuff like that. It sort of, explain the origins of those sayings, in sort of behavioural terms. So, yeah, I just think it'd be, I don't know, sort of just good to know, really, because I suppose when I first, for a long time, the fake it to make it thing, I just thought, it's not being authentic. And I just thought it was rubbish, So when it, sort of that really helped me reading that book. I just thought, it helps explain some of the sort of rationale behind it.
Yeah. Was that a book about William James, or was it by William James?
It was sort of. No, it was about William James. A guy called John Cagg, who's I think he's a professor up in Boston.
Okay.
And yeah, he specialises in sort of William James. I think he teaches a course on him.
Okay.
So it's a lot about his book, The Principles of Psychology. And yeah, I mean, he's a fascinating guy, William James. He's sort of polymath, really. And he was sort of he did a lot of the foundational work in neuroscience.
Yeah,
It
right.
flushed out the sort of the malleability of the brain and stuff like that. He did really important foundational work, William James did. So yeah, it was called Sick Souls, Healthy Minds. This book.
Okay.
It's a really good book, and it's sort of part biography and then part sort of, academic type sort of explanation. So really good book.
Sick Souls, Healthy Man.
Yeah, but really, I just like to say, pardon? No, Sick Souls, Healthy Minds.
Minds. I was going to say, man,
Yeah.
Sick Souls, Healthy Man. I don't think it sounds like my dating life, but
Yeah, no, I think it's from Writer's Ability Experience, that book, that the lectures that William James did, about he was firstborn, sort of secondborn sort of thing. And, it's from that. But yeah, it was a really good book. But mainly just I thought it was a great topic, and I just wanted to say hello, really. And I'll let say it's. I wish I was awake more to listen to your show.
Well,
I'll probably never phone you again.
I like to think about you over there at 1 o'clock in the morning, having a cup of tea and calling us on our live stream. It's kind of nice.
Yeah. Well, now that you know exactly what time it is and what we talk about, I'm pretty sure you're going to be waking up every Friday, to talk to us.
No, it's been subconsciously now. Alarm clock waking up at 1 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Steve. It was really nice to hear from you. It's good to see you out there.
Yes, it really was.
And I hope you do get some sleep sometime today.
All right. Take it easy.
Take care. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
It was good to hear from him.
It definitely was. Yeah. If the UK becomes a green authorized country again, I might actually visit there this summer. I've been in talks with another friend who has some stuff to do there, and so I might head over there. But cool. I don't know if they're not currently in the green category, which is the whole stoplight thing of where you can go and can't go and stuff like that. And so we'll see. But that would be pretty cool, and maybe get to meet up with some people.
Susan and I were planning on taking a trip to England. That was going to be our first trip overseas together, and we didn't. And then we were going to do it in 2019. Didn't. Then we couldn't do it in 2020. Who knows when we'll finally be able to do it? But that's when we start traveling, that's going to be the first place we go, because we think they speak the same language. Someone is calling.
Sort of.
Hello, area code 772. How you doing?
Hey, this is Al from Vero Beach, Florida.
Oh, hey, Al.
Good to hear from you again.
Hey, gang. Always good to hear you guys. I'm down here still in the desert of regular AA. Thank God for Zoom, right? But anyway, for me, it's a language thing. I needed to develop. I like John's word, healthy traits. That to me, it's discipline and volunteering to help. Which was the last. I never volunteered for anything in my fucking life. Especially when I was drinking. That's a long time ago. But the words fake and pretend, I'm just not convinced those are good things. It's just, especially in AA, the way they're used in AA. The way Angela's using it, fine, it's terrific. To me, it's just healthy traits and discipline and different things that I had to develop, to emotionally grow a little bit. But,
I think somebody posted that on that acting as if seems to be a much better expression, because you can act as if you don't need to drink today. And that's true whether you feel it or not. So,
Right. I've sponsored guys occasionally, all traditional AA stuff. And I would much prefer the guy come up and say, these damn promises just aren't happening. Or I hate this shit. What do you mean I got to clean ashtrays? What do you don't do that? But, to be honest, is that old cornerstone of AA.
Mhm.
That fake it. The language is what throws me
Yeah.
off. I
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
exactly what you're saying, but
yeah.
to me, if I never hear "fake it till you make it" again in AA, I'll be a happy
Right.
person. Believe me.
Right.
All right,
But I
that's
got
all
your
I have.
attention, so there we go.
Yeah, you certainly did. Hey, I love you guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for
You
calling, Al.
too.
I
Bye
appreciate
bye.
it.
Yep. Bye bye.
How exciting to get all these calls. I love it when you guys call. Thank you, Al, and thank you for the other callers. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's really
And
great.
and thank you also everybody out there. I mean, we're not done yet, but I mean, I'm just amazed at all of you guys that are sticking with us here. We still have 21 people out there. I always count. We have 21 people out there, and I say that because I'm just amazed and I'm grateful more than anything else
Mhm.
that people are that we have you. That we have this community. We're just really fortunate. So thank you. It's always great to spend this time with you, and I'm just really grateful and thankful that we can do that. Oh, we got another caller already. Area code
Woo.
506. How about this? Hello, how you doing?
Yes, hi, hi, John. It's Tyler here from calling from Canada.
Hi,
Oh,
Tyler.
hey, Tyler.
What's on your mind?
Yes, and I just wanted to chime in. I saw this posted earlier on the Facebook group, and Angela, you really got my attention too with this one because sort of like Al just expressed when he called in. It's the language that really got me with this.
Mhm.
It really threw me for a number of years early in AA when I was in and out and in and out, and it seemed so inconsistent to me,
Mhm.
and really it allowed me as a relapsing newcomer, to just continue that deceitful lifestyle, and
Mhm.
it gave me an excuse to keep doing that sort of stuff. And once I got out of that, and once I broke out of that cycle and got some sobriety behind me, I really generated quite a resentment against this particular saying. And when I bring it up in meetings, when I would talk about it in some more conventional meetings, I would get a bit of pushback. Some of
Mhm.
the people they would say, oh, you're overthinking it. Oh, don't be so sensitive. And I honestly think that language is very important for some newcomers like me,
Yeah.
where that inconsistency, or just just even with that Facebook post inviting people to this call-in show, I didn't know what this was going to be about with the neuroplasticity and that sort of topic, which I love that. I
Mhm.
just went back to my my good old days, thinking about when I was using that faking it lifestyle. And
Mhm.
anyway, I just wanted to put in a plug. I really wanted to put in a plug for being more careful with the language, I guess, with newcomers that like to play in their deceit like I used to.
Yeah, that
And
makes sense.
if and I really like a lot of the stuff I read in the comments and heard here tonight. It's I would just say, I love the idea of do stuff you don't necessarily want to do, or adopt a routine even if you don't want to, things like
Right.
that. Instead of the faking
Right.
that faking language. But anyway, no, that was my idea. I just wanted to chime in on that, and I really appreciate you guys bringing this on here for the Friday night talk, and I got a lot out of it. So thanks very much for putting this on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for calling,
Thanks
Tyler.
for calling. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll hang up and let somebody else chime in, and I hope to learn some more in the last few minutes here tonight. So thanks a lot again, guys.
It was nice talking to you. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. There's been a call in the chat for t-shirts for some time now. And I tell you what, I'm really beginning to think it might be a possibility to do something like that, to get some t-shirts and every once in a while give some out. I didn't know what to put on it. Someone suggested a bicycle seat. I know. So I don't know. It's possible. We could actually do something like this and occasionally give one out or whatever. We could do it. We could do this. We could do this, I think.
All right.
Let me look into it and ponder it a little bit. I do like the bicycle seat idea. Maybe there's something else we can do. It's like, if you have a lot of podcasts and stuff, they have coffee cups, and they have T-shirts and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, what if you're like, I guess you could do one if you're beyond belief sobriety. You want sobriety on your shirt? I don't know.
Yeah.
It has to be something kind of subtle, I think.
Well, we're not very subtle, so I don't know. Yeah, maybe a bicycle, with a circle and a triangle and the spokes. I don't know.
Like that.
Yeah, we'll fake it
cool.
till we make it.
Fake it till we make it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, I really do appreciate that last call, because that was kind of one of the things that I thought of when I suggested it was, what are people going to think about that? Because it is a phrase that, I generally, when I see it, I don't care for it.
Right.
And so I did want to kind of break it down into the different ways that people can think about it. And I like the discussion tonight so that, it is on people's mind if you're in a meeting and you hear something like that. Now we have some different terms that we can either redirect the conversation to more of a acting as if, or, what are some steps that you can take to do stuff that you don't want to do to get to a point that you're more happy with. So,
well, gosh, Angela, you did a good job. Thank you so much for making this happen, and thank you everybody out there in the chat room and the callers for helping as well. I don't know if I really have any announcements of stuff that's going on, but we do have in June a conference coming up. It's going to be the European Secular AA Conference will be happening, and there should be some stuff being posted about that. The secular AA people, they definitely need someone to help with the website. I might be able to do it, but we need to put up something about to make it possible for people to register for the conference in Washington, D.C., because that will be coming up before you know it. And I guess I have the technical capabilities where I can do it, and maybe I just need to force myself to do it. Just some simple little, plug in where you can just register for the conference. But we definitely need an IT person because we don't have one, and it's a kind of a big job. So if anyone's out there that wants to do it or knows someone who can do it, you can send me an email, and I'll pass it on to the Secular AA board, and they will put you to work. So just keep that in your mind. And
sounds good.
I'll reach out to Fred. I haven't heard from him for a while. So I'll reach out to him. I've got his phone number. He's left some messages in the past, so we'll see how he's doing. I do miss him. He was calling all the time for a while. And, I'm sure he's fine.
Yep.
Hope he's fine anyway.
We're thinking of you, Fred.
Yeah. People are thinking about you, Fred. And hopefully you're listening. Maybe he'll call next week. So anyway, I don't know any final thoughts on this topic or anything that you want to go out on, Angela?
No, I think that we covered quite a bit of stuff. If people are interested in any of the podcasts that I mentioned, I can list them after this is over, and so people have links to them. But yeah, I really enjoyed the discussion.
Yeah, I did too. And welcome, is it Palma? Palma from Minneapolis. I like Minneapolis, another great Midwestern city that Susan and I have visited before. I love the downtown there. So anyway, I can go. Let's just do our regular music. Okay, so that's it. Another episode of Beyond Belief Sobriety, the live stream version. And thank you so much, everybody, for participating. It's been fun. I'm going to work on that T-shirt idea. I think we can do something about that. So
yeah, Jackie had an idea. Yeah,
Jackie,
and you all can send in your ideas to John because I don't have to read the email.
Please do. All right, y'all. Take care. Be well. We'll be back again real soon. We'll be back again actually next week for another live stream, and we got some podcasts to be posted this week. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.